Hello everyone, my name is Timothy Davis and I'm presenting my Interpersonal Communications Project for Human Service Counseling 508 at Liberty University. So over the course of this term, we have learned a lot of cool things about interpersonal communications and a lot of things that we can carry with us as far as going into our career aspirations and our goals. So this project is to pretty much go over my career aspirations and goals and my overarching goals and how I can integrate interpersonal communication within those goals as I move forward in the future. So during this presentation, I will be talking about my overarching goals and the importance of interpersonal communication to achieving those goals. I'm going to give you a little bit of background and identity into myself as well as my behavioral blend based on the Uniquely You survey that we took at the beginning of the term. I'm going to talk about my communication tendencies and my communication barriers, as those would be concerns as far as what I do as far as interpersonal communication, because they're a part of me. I'm going to talk about my resources and strategy, about what I've learned and how I can correct my barriers. I'm going to talk about my action plan and then my target results, my action plan, and then I'll give you a final thought as we finish. So my overarching goal is simply to help. I've always been a helper. I've always wanted to help. I've always wanted to do what I can to help. And recently, I've just developed my knowledge for my gift, which is of helping. So how do I plan to help? Well, I plan on to help through being a life coach and a mentor to others. So definitely interpersonal communication will help in that. Also, interpersonal communication will help with my social media presence as I plan to life coach and mentor through social media. So the guiding principle that I have with helping comes from 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10, which reads, "As each one has received a gift, minister it to one another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God." Which pretty much is saying that if God gives us a gift, we should minister to others in his name and in his goodness, as he's given us the responsibility to do so. So the importance of interpersonal communication. So I see two different lanes that I can go as far as what my overarching goals is. First, with the life coaching and mentoring. There are two ways that interpersonal communication can benefit in life coaching and mentoring. One, coaches and counselors rely on interpersonal communication to just develop the relationship and your therapeutic relationship with their clients. So basically, as you learn how to progress into the field, you build a trusting relationship with your clients, so therefore they can give you more information and they can build a trusting relationship to rely on you. Which leads to the second point, which provides a deeper and safer connection which emotions can be expressed safely, which is very important because if you want your client to open up to you and express what they need to express and not hold back and get to the complete solution to the problem, they have to be able to open up. So interpersonal communication really is a factor in doing that. As far as the social media presence, social media is very beneficial to interpersonal communication because for two main reasons. Number one, is readily available. Anyone can go on their phone, anyone can go on their tablet, anyone can go on the computer, and they can reach a social media site, for example, YouTube. And it's so user-friendly. They make it so easy and so equipped for everyone to be able to go and push a button, watch a video, read a message, and it's very easy for anyone to access. So the importance of social media is that it has changed the original model of communication, which was sender, messenger, receiver, channel, and then effect. But now the channel is the main part of the goal now because we go to the channel instead of the sender for the information. For example, as we want to know information, we'll go log on Facebook, which would be the channel, and then the sender pretty much puts what they need to put on to Facebook as the channel, and then that relays the message to all of us and as the receiver, and then we get the effect of all of that. So social media, especially in the 21st century, has revolutionized the communication model. So let's talk about my background and identity. So a quote from Stewart says, "Who we are, our identities, is built in our communication." So basically it's saying that basically the backgrounds that we come from and who we identify as help us communicate with others. So identities that change for me, because identities can ever readily change. So for example, in one instance, I can be a father. I can be known as an amputee. I can be known as a diabetic. I can be known as a Christian. I can be known as African-American male, and I can be known as a sports junkie. Any of those things or combination of things can come up into a conversation to which I can relate to somebody else or someone else can relate to me. So my behavioral blend, according to my uniquely you profile, people expect me to be a steady influencer. That's a SI. So they say I'm people oriented. It says I'm inspiring and submissive, and I'm active in crowds and passive in small groups. So who I actually am, according to the uniquely you profile, is I'm a confident influencing specialist. I'm passive with strong people skills. I can be both outgoing and reserved, and I can either infuse or interact and withdraw and concentrate, which means I can switch off either or. I can do well in great crowds. I can do well by myself. So the pros of my behavior blend, because every behavior blend has its pros and its cons. So according to Carbonell, I am charismatic and sensitive. I'm a great conflict negotiator. I love inspiring crowds, which pretty much is what I want to do through social media. And I'm great at caring, thinking, and problem solving, which actually lends to the life coaching and human service counseling, which is a good thing for me. Now I also have some cons, which I over-rely on communication and supporting abilities, which I will over-rely on this message getting to everyone and think that that's what I need to do. I'm not very task-oriented, which pretty much means I'm very focused on the goal, but I'm not focused on the task that builds up to those goals. My opinions can stand to be turned off. I am very opinionated, I will admit I am. And I'm indecisive. Sometimes I just don't know which way I want to go with things, which kind of messes things up a little bit for me as well. So my communication tendencies, my verbal tendencies, I'm a very good writer. I write, and I pretty much would rather write than speak, which is why I do more of my social media stuff on Instagram than I do on YouTube. According to Stewart, written words are the symbols of smoker words. So with mixed cues, my gestures and expressions while speaking can suggest feelings. Like, I don't hide my feelings very well. You pretty much know how I feel. You probably see that I'm nervous right now, or you might see that I've gotten relaxed as time goes by. My nonverbal tendencies, my facial expressions, which pretty much suggest that you always know how I'm feeling. I don't have a poker face at all. So anyone that talks to me can pretty much know how I'm feeling at any given time, pretty much during the conversation. My communication barriers, I've identified 3 communication barriers that I've had. I have. One is cultural, excuse me. Cultural talks about prejudices and stereotypes and different things like that. And then also culture clashes, how we clash through different cultures, how our disagreements and how our ways of life kind of clash. Like, we think this is better. We think that is better because based on the culture we stay in. Number 2 is religious. As I learn to talk to different crowds, I have to keep in mind that I'm a Christian. Everyone else that may be listening to my message is not necessarily a Christian, or they may be agnostic. They may be Buddhist. They may be Muslim. I have to keep that in mind. And generational, for example, most of my generation probably won't use social media to get their information onto different life coaching techniques as I'm trying to present. So my resources and strategies that we have learned throughout the course, Bridges Not Walls is a great one for one. The literature helps to bridge culture differences and deal with prejudice and conflict resolution. There's actually a whole chapter on that. Why Don't We Listen Better by James Peterson is another one. It pretty much talks about how our talking and listening skills need to improve in order to close that communication gap. One person needs to talk, the other one needs to listen, and we need to make sure that we switch off equally. And helping skills for the human services worker is the third one. And pretty much as we go into our profession as human service counselors, this book could definitely help us in that. My action plan. Well, of course, I have to admit my prejudice and that I subscribe to stereotypes. Everyone does it. It's okay. But as long as we learn from those things and just admit that we subscribe to them, helps out a lot. Realize that that diversity in culture can be valuable. Everybody has something different to offer. I have to admit my ignorance. If I don't know something, I have to admit that. Especially if I'm going to be a life coach, I have to admit that I don't know. And it's pretty much an ethical standard that I do that as well, including perfection. And then when I give my services, I have to be empathetic, warm, and genuine, as Francis and Wyckoff suggests. So my target results, it creates humility for myself to create an attitude of learning others. Recognizing that the way to work through a problem comes in different forms, like it's not necessarily my way. Building relationships that foster trust and better listening. So in conclusion of my presentation, I want to leave you with a quote, and it's from my favorite cartoon character, Winnie the Pooh. It is more fun to talk with someone who doesn't use long, difficult words, but rather short, easy words like, what about lunch? So it basically says that you don't have to have a complicated words or use big words or go through complicated theories to have a conversation with somebody, just plain and simple. So I'd like to thank you for your time and to listening to my presentation, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.